Welcome everybody to our latest video in this series on learning SQL. This video is about the select statement. It's going to be I call it a simple select statement because it's just the intro to select. We're only going to be using a single table, one table. Okay, so we use the select statement to read or extract the data that's in our tables. So we have data in our tables and we want to see what's in it. We use the select statement. We can redirect the output from our select statement to the screen or to a printer or to a file. We're always going to direct it to the screen so we can see. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? And as always, I'm using MySQL. I'm using version 8.0.16. That's the latest version as of this video. Okay, so the bottom panel here is MySQL. This is called the command line or console window. Up here in the left pane, that's the tables, the structure we're using. So it's called the relationship schema diagram. So this is the four tables we're going to be using. And over here on the right hand side, this is Notepad, just a text editor. Pure text editor is what you got to use. Now you could use the GUI that comes with MySQL, or you got to download it separately, one or the other. But I don't use the GUIs especially for MySQL. So I just use Notepad, and so this is where I'm going to type all my SQL commands, and then I'll load them in MySQL, an external file. Okay, so let's see how we use the let's first go down to MySQL, look at our databases. So this is show databases is a MySQL specific command. Every command that I tell you, if it's specific to MySQL, I will tell you. If all the commands, or not the commands, the concepts you learn here are good for all relational databases. So the select statement, the way I'm going to show it, works across all databases. You might have to change the syntax sometimes slightly for the one you're using, but if it's MySQL specific, I will point it out. And I will tell you what you could use in place with another relational database. So I want to set grades database. That's the one I want to use as my default database. So I type use grades. Now any command I type is going to be executed against that database. So let's see the simplest select statement I can think of. So you type select. What comes after the word select is star. Or sorry, not star, your column list, okay? It's the column list from, and then you type where, like that. So you select the columns you want returned. A star means all columns, and then where you want it to come from. So from the table student, okay? Let me show you something here. I might have it here. Let me just go. I'm just going to this panel here, and I'm going to jump through. Yes, there we go. In SQL, the select statement goes in this order. So this column here, select, from, where, group by, having, order by. Those are the different clauses you can have. You don't have to use them all, but they have to be typed in this order. Notice the select comes first, then the from, right there. So you put select, your column list, your from, where it's coming from, a filter, where, a grouping by, a having clause, and an order by clause. We'll go through all these, but that's the order you type it in. But the query processing order internally to MySQL or SQL Server or whatever, it does it this way. From, where, group by, having, select, order by. Notice the select is down here just before the order by. And this is technically where your column aliases are used, okay, or created. So therefore, technically, when I show you the column aliases, they can only be used in the order by. But I'm going to recommend you don't do it. So this is the column we have to remember to type in the order, okay? Select from, where, group by, having, order by. That's the important part. Okay, so if I type in select star from student, this says show me all the columns. This means all columns, not all rows, all columns from the table called student. Because I haven't filtered my return set, the return set is the name of what comes back to us. It's called the return set. So since I don't have any kind of filter, it's going to return every row. But this star doesn't mean every row, it means every column. Keep that in mind. So let's save this. Go down here. Source, etemp. Remember, source is the MySQL command that loads external script files. So you give a path and the name of the file. This one is called try.sql. It's in my etemp directory. Hit enter, and there's a whole bunch of, there's 1,000 rows or records in that table. Okay. Now, the star says show me all the columns. I'm seeing all the rows because I haven't filtered it in any way, okay? So make sure you remember what goes in between the select and the from are the columns you want to return. Now I'm going to throw in a keyword here. This is MySQL specific. Just ignore it for now. I'm just going to show the first 10 rows. So limit 10. Shows me the first 10 rows. If you're using another system, something like SQL Server, they use the word top rather than limit, and they put it at the beginning rather than at the end. This is what I want to show you. The first 10 rows, because I didn't want the column list, the column headings to disappear off my screen. So notice the column headings is the first line, and it's the same as the columns names in your table. Student ID, student number, student F name, last name, gender are the exact same names you created when you created the table. Okay, just remember that. And I'm only using limit 10 just to show the first 10 rows. Okay, so I just want to point that out because it's going to be important in a minute. Now let's assume we just want to see 2 columns, student first name and student last name. Take out this star and just type in the actual names of the columns. Okay, so what do we want to see? First name, I said, and last name. So you separate the columns by commas. That's it. So select student first name, comma, student last name. So use the exact same names as the columns. I'm going to keep it limited to 10. If I took out the limit, it's going to show all the rows. Okay, I just want to see the first 10 so I can see the headings, okay? So I'm going to run the source command again, and there you go. Student first name, student last name. It only shows. So when you put the column list is what you want to see. So you can pick any of the columns, just type it in, okay? So let's say I wanted to see the student number also. So I'm going to put student number here. Shoot, I don't want that. And I'm going to put it on I'm going to put the from clause on a different line just so we can see it. Okay, so select student number, student first name, student last name, all separated by commas. I'm putting this on a separate line. Again, if you've been watching the videos, SQL doesn't care. This is for readability. Also, all my SQL statements or keywords are in uppercase, but they can be in lowercase. It doesn't matter. SQL is not case sensitive when it comes to that. Also, all these line feeds, they're all ignored. Any indenting I do like that is totally ignored. Okay, so it's just for readability. Okay, I'm going to save that and execute that again. Now I have the student number, the first name, and last name. So let's say you wanted to create a report like that, okay, with that information. It's okay, but it doesn't look that great, okay? So let's do a couple of things. Let's say I want to have student number, and I want one column that has the student's first name and last name, okay? I don't want 2 columns. I just want 1 column. Okay, there's a function that's built in to relational database is called CONCAT. Stands for concatenation, meaning to join something together. Okay, there's shortcut keys or keys, I guess, the symbols that you can use in different systems, like the pipe symbol, the plus symbol, and all that. But then you have to memorize which one is you're using, which relational database you're using. So if the concat is good across the board on all of them. So the way it works is this: concat, and then in brackets, I'll put the extra bracket out here, the closing bracket, just so I don't forget it. So you put what you want to join together. It could be anything. It could just be words, or it could be columns. So we want to join the first name and the last name together. So if I just did that, everything would work. Let's do that just to show you what I'm doing this in steps. So let's go back here and run that. There. I've got the student number, and I've got the first name and last name together. Ooh, that doesn't look too good. But it's all in one column. That's what the concatenate did. It joined the two values here together. So anything in the brackets gets joined together. So this doesn't look that great because I don't have a space between the first and last name. So back up here in the concatenate expression here, we can put a space. So comma, quote, a space, bracket, or comma. So now I've got the first name joined with a space. A space is a character, so you have to put it in quotation marks. Any characters are put into a quotation mark. Use a single quotation mark for literals, please. Then a comma, and then the next column I want to join. Now let's run that and see what we've done. We've joined the value in the first name column with a space, and then joined it with the last values in the last name column. Let's run that and see how that looks. Oh, that's much better. Now I've got spaces. Now it makes a little more sense. Yes. So you can join as many as you want. Any as you want. If you're in, where is it? Oracle, though. Oracle only allows 2 values in the brackets. So you couldn't do this. You couldn't have the space. So what you would do is use a nested concat. You would concat, you'd student first name with a space, then another concat of that value with the last name. So you'd have to keep nesting your concat statements together, okay, because it only allows 2 at a time. Okay, so we've got that. Now notice here the column headings. The column headings are always the name that you use up here. Okay, so I use student number because that's the name of the column, so that's what's being showed. I typed in concat whatever, so that's what's being shown. Now in a report that would look terrible. You go, what is that? Okay, so let's fix that up. So I'm just putting this on a new line so we can read. What you want to do is use a column alias, it's called. Now you could put in this word as, and then whatever you want. So I'm going to type in student number, like that, okay? Just like that. So the word as is optional. I could leave it out. I could just have this, no problem. Put a space and then the column alias. But I'll put the word as for now so you can see. So the column alias is student underscore number. I'm going to expand this out so we can see this. And then the concat student first name. Okay. Let's call that student. Just call it student. I'll do it both ways here. So I'm not using the word as. And notice I didn't use quotation marks like I did here. The reason I didn't need to use quotation marks, I could if I want, but I don't have to because it's only one word. If you have multiple words, then you must use quotation marks, or else it thinks the first word is the alias and it doesn't know what you mean by the next word. Okay, so this is 2 words or this is 1 word, so that is fine. I don't have to use the word as. I could, but I don't have to. Let's run this and see what it does. See, it changes the column. It's called the column alias. Okay, Now this column alias is student number, and this column alias is student. We still refer to it by the student number, not the alias. The only time I can use the alias is when I'm using the order by, because remember up here I said the logical processing, the column aliases are created here just before the order by, so they're not available before that. They don't know it. Now MySQL, a lot of times you can use them in up here, but you shouldn't get used to that because other systems won't allow it. MySQL allows you to get away with it sometimes, so but just don't get into that habit. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now let's add something else in. What if we wanted this? This is all in random order. Well, it's not random. It's the order that we typed it into the table. So let's say we want to return this in alphabetical order based on first and last name. So from student, remember this little picture here. There's a clause called order by, and it goes last. Okay. So we're going to use that. So we're going to order it by. We're going to order our return set, order by, and we want to order it by first and last name. I've already got the first and last name, so I'm just going to copy that. Okay. I want it to be match exactly this. So I could use student first name, comma, last name by itself, but sometimes, especially MySQL, seems to have a little problem. I have found that it doesn't give the orders you expect to do. So something's going a little wonky with MySQL. So I just take the exact thing I typed up here and put it down here. So I'm ordering it by this. So I'm ordering it by this column. Now, order by has two things that go with it. Ascending, that means alphabetical order, or descending, reverse alphabetical order. Okay, by default, usually it's already in ascending, so you don't have to put it. But I recommend you do put it. The reason being is someone can change the default on the server, change the default setting. And they can say, oh, my default setting is descending instead of ascending. And if your report's expected in ascending order, if you left it out, whatever the default setting of the server is what it'll come out as. So then it would come out in descending order if someone changed it. So if you always force it, it doesn't matter what someone puts it into the server as. What I know it's defaulted as that, but if someone changed it, it'll still come out the way I expected it. So let's run it now. Notice now it's in alphabetical order. Okay. And if I take out the limit 10 here, you're not going to see the column headings because they're going to go off the screen, but you can see it goes down. This is the one I wanted to show you, this Yuri guy. There's two Yuris, but it's based on first and last name. Okay, and Yuri Cops comes before Yuri Skirm. Don't worry, I wrote just a thing to do random names, so I don't know what they are. Okay, so to populate the tables. So that's the way you do the order by. Okay, so you could technically use the alias here called student, but I don't recommend it because you get sometimes different results. Especially in MySQL, I have found it doesn't always work. Like this time it's working, but it doesn't always work. But this is the only place you're allowed to use the column alias in your clauses. Don't use them in the having clauses or group by clauses or whatever. Even if MySQL allows it, don't use it because it can't be used in other systems. Okay, you could also do student F name, comma, student L name. So that should work also. But I found sometimes with MySQL it doesn't give you the exact same thing you want all the time either, but you can do that too. Okay, so if you want to order by multiple columns, just separate them by commas. And you can even do this. You can even set the first name in descending order and the last name in ascending order and get some kind of result. Okay, so you can do things like that. Okay, so you see that the last name is in, the first name is in descending order. See, it's different now. The A's are last, but the student last name should be in ascending order. Okay, and it is. You'd have to find someone with the same first name. That Yuri guy. Let's put a where clause in here. So a where clause is what's used to filter. So where student F name equals to, I think it was Yuri, like that, if I recall. Let's try that. I'll explain that in a second in more detail. Let's run that. I'm just curious. There they are. Okay. So Yuri, but the last name is still in ascending order. Okay. So it did work. So you can mix and match them. Okay. So keep that in mind. You can mix and match the orders of each column also. Okay. So you can do that. You can mix them. You can leave them off, and it'll take the default. Okay. Okay, let's take out this order by for now. Let's show you the where clause. So the where clause comes after the from clause. Let's go back here and look. See, from, and then where comes next. Everything has to be in the order that this follows. Okay. So we got the where clause. Where clause is used to filter the return set. Notice here, if I ran this, it returns all the rows. And it's 1,000 rows. But what if I want to filter? I just want something very specific. You use a where clause. That will filter. Let's filter on the last name. Student last name equal to, and I know there's a person in there called Wyant. I looked earlier. I cheated. Let's save that and run that. There's two people with the last name of Wyant. So I filtered my return set. Okay, and here equal to, any of these operators, these mathematical operators, you can use anything. You can use less than. So if you're using numbers, you can use less than, greater than, equal, less than, equal. So I'll show you them. That's the less than. That's the greater than. That's the less than equal to. That's the greater than equal to. This is not equal to. Okay, and obviously that's equal to. So you can use any of those. Okay. Don't forget this. A lot of people mix up this. It's less than equal, greater than equal. Okay, it's not equal less than. It's less than equal to. Okay, so you can use any of those. Okay, so keep that in mind. So use the where clause to filter the return set. Okay, now I'm putting this in quotations because it is a character, and a character has to be in quotations. This literal has to be in quotations. Okay, single quotes. Oh, sorry, up here the column aliases, I recommend using double quotes because they're object names. Okay, not single quotes. Some systems won't allow you to use single quotes, so I use the double quotes. Literals use single quotes. Okay. What else do I want to show you here? Oh, yes. When you're having character bases, sometimes what you can use is wildcards. So instead of the equal sign, let's change that to like. Okay. When you use wildcards, use the keyword like. Let's say I wanted to see everyone's whose last name started with the letter W. I could do this. Use the like. You can't use the equal when you use wildcards because an equals looks at literally the characters you type. If I typed in this, it would say the last name has to be W%. There's no one like that, so it wouldn't return any. It would be an empty set, what we say. See, like this. I'll run it just to show you. See, it's an empty set. Nothing got returned. What that means is you typed all this correctly. Everything's valid what you typed. It's just nothing matches this condition. So there's no last name that's W%. What I want to do is use that percent not as a literal, but as a wildcard. So I have to change that mathematical operator to a like. Okay, now this says, show me all the people whose last name starts with W, and I don't care how many characters come after it. It could be no characters, or it could be 50 characters. Let's run that. Now I got a lot of people with the last name W. You see that? See this? All of them have the last name of W. Okay, so that's a wild card, and that can be put anywhere. What if I did this? Now, I could also put a lowercase w like this and get the same result. The reason for that is the setting on the server says ignore the case in the literals when you're using the like, basically. It's telling you I'm going to ignore it. So you got to be very careful what the setting of the server is. Okay, if the server says case is important and I'm going to look for case in this literal, then this would have returned nothing. Okay, wouldn't have mattered, or would have mattered. Okay, so now let's say I want to find the word last name with letter W anywhere in the word. So it could be at the beginning, it could be at the end, it could be in the middle, it could be anywhere, it could be the third character, anywhere. That's percent, W% says as long as it has a W. I don't care if it's at the beginning or at the end. I don't care how many characters come before it. I don't care how many characters come after it. So it could be no characters before it. It could be no characters after it. It could be 5 characters before it. It could be 10 characters after it. It doesn't matter. I don't care where it is. Show me all of them. Okay, now there's 118. Okay, so you can see this guy here, Newnham. W is in the middle. Here, W is there. Here, the W is at the beginning. Here, but they all have a W somewhere in their last name. Okay, so that's that. Okay, if you want it to only people who have a W at the end of their name, just like that. W's at the end. I don't care what comes before it. Let's see if there's any. Yep, there's a few. Notice all their W's are at the end of their name. Okay, another wild card is the underscore. Okay, so if I typed in something like this, underscore W %, an underscore represents a single character, whereas the percent represented any number of characters. So this says, sorry, I hit the right mouse key. This says, show me all the people whose last name has a W as the second character in their last name. So the first character, I don't care what the character is, but the second character has to be a W, and I don't care how many characters come after that. So let's run that and see if we get anything. Yeah, we got 4 here. So see, W, 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 W is the second character. Okay, so an underscore represents a single character, and you can join it. So I could put another character like that. Another, that would say the W has to be the third character, etc. Okay, now if you're looking specifically for the W, you'd have to, or sorry, not the W, a wildcard value. Say you want it that. So you want it, nothing would come. This is just the concept. Say I wanted to look for a percent sign. So I want it W %, use the percent as the wildcard, then a percent sign in it. I would use an escape character. The default escape character is the backslash %. And then I'll do another percent like this. What this says is this. The name has to start with a W. I don't care how many characters come next. Once it sees this backslash, it's not looking for a backslash. That's the escape character, the default escape character. It says the next character that comes after this slash is a literal. It's not a wildcard anymore. So now it says, oh, it has to have a percent sign. So it's going to look for the actual percent sign. Then the next percent sign acts again as a wildcard. Okay, so this is good when you're looking for, say, prices that have a column, the description is 10% off, and you're looking for anyone that has a percent sign in it. So you know there was a discount. So you would look for that. If you want to change your escape character, you'd say escape, and let's say you want to change it to the and symbol. Then you do that. Okay, then now and is the escape character. Okay, don't do this with MySQL. MySQL is a little wonky sometimes. Don't do this. You'll get an error because it's already the default, so it doesn't expect you to put it in. Okay, you can just put it in. Okay, so that's when you're looking for the actual percent, one of the things. Okay, so that's it for the select statement for now. That's all we know for now. We say back here, we can't do right now the group by and the having. We don't have enough data. We'll use that when we use more than one table. Okay. So select statement, the columns we want to see, then the from, then the where, then the order by for now. Okay, so that's the select statement. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, like would be appreciated. Join the channel would be appreciated. And if you want to see be notified of any new videos, click on the bell icon. Okay, that's it. Have a great day, guys. Take care.